Hundreds and even thousands of years ago, our ancestors knew about things that we've long since forgotten. Some of those things have been rediscovered, others are still being discovered. For example, music was once a tool for healing. If you were unwell, a shaman or a healer would prescribe or administer to you certain musical activities for healing, such as chanting or drumming. Some of that might sound a bit woo-woo and silly, but there's profound neurological evidence that those activities were actually based in solid biological truths. That's not to suggest that music can suddenly become a cure for cancer or substitute for a knee reconstruction, but it definitely has medical benefits. Perhaps where it is of most benefit is in the support of our mental well-being and in the relief of the symptoms of certain neurological disorders. And that's because music can do some amazing things in our brains. It can reconnect the pathways in our brains to help us retrieve memories that have slipped just out of reach due to neurological disorders such as Alzheimer's or dementia. It can also help to reactivate or improve the strength of the innate timing mechanisms in our brains, to improve the symptoms of coordination and movement-based disorders such as Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis. And I probably should clarify here that I'm talking in very general terms. These are complex disorders and complex topics, and music can vary and will vary in its effectiveness. If you'd like to learn more, one great resource on this topic is Daniel Levitin's book, Music as Medicine. That's where a lot of the factual content in this video has come from, but this is also a personal video and a personal story, not a discussion of that book. And similarly, music is also a personal therapeutic tool, in the sense that the music that works for you might be different to the music that works for me. In fact, the research has shown that the best music for therapeutic purposes is music chosen by the individual, not some magical set of tracks with special mystical properties. For example, you might find death metal helpful from a therapeutic point of view. For me, it's probably more likely to be rock, blues, jazz, and funk. Before I tell you exactly how music has helped me, let's begin by covering off two very important topics here. Firstly, this video will touch on the topics of mental health and abuse. Not in detail, but we're going to go there a little bit. If that's likely to be triggering for you, please consider if you want to continue watching this video. On a related note, it's important to recognize that music cannot replace the role of therapy or counseling for any mental health concerns. That's why I was so happy when BetterHelp reached out to be a paid partner of this video. I've been seeing a therapist for over 15 years now. Even after all that time and work, it still didn't prepare me for what happened to me and my family in December of 2023, and that has continued right up until this time. I'll tell you more about that shortly because that's ultimately what this video is about, but I want to highlight the importance of therapy before we get there. At the same time as my world was rocked by the events I'm going to tell you about, my amount of available time also dramatically reduced. Finding the time to see a therapist became next to impossible when I was split between being a parent to a young child, running a consulting business, and building this YouTube channel. And that's where BetterHelp comes into the picture. They provide online therapy services so you don't even have to leave your house. If you're as short on time as I am, that can be the difference between having the support you need or trying to do it all on your own, and that's never fun. And in case you're not familiar with the idea and the process of therapy, it's actually a wonderful experience. A therapist will listen to you, ask questions, and help you to see things from a new perspective sometimes. Being truly heard by somebody and having the chance to freely talk through your experiences can be an incredibly empowering and releasing experience when you're going through tough times. But a therapist can also give you advice and share techniques with you to improve your general well-being and to better manage the challenges that you're facing. BetterHelp is on a mission to make starting therapy easier. They use a simple questionnaire to help match you with a therapist as soon as possible, and you can easily switch therapists at any time at no extra cost if it's not a good fit for you. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform that you can trust. Click the link in the description down below or go to betterhelp.com/passion4sound to get 10% off your first month of therapy. And now let's return to discussing the wonderful powers of music and the situation that rocked me back in December of 2023. We all grow up, I think, accepting that our family life is normal and that everybody else lives the same way that we do. After all, as children, we don't really have any references to compare our situations with. After speaking to many people about my experiences, it's become clear to me that far too many people, particularly it seems in our generation, have had to grow up in horrible family situations. narcissistic behaviours, gaslighting, mental and emotional abuse, and of course far too many have also had to deal with physical abuse, something that I have thankfully never had to contend with. The impacts of such treatment from the people who are meant to be supporting and nurturing us as children can lead to all kinds of mental and emotional issues, including things like post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. A non-clinical explanation of PTSD is that it's an ongoing stress response in the body that lasts for more than 1 month after the triggering event. It can include physical symptoms of stress such as higher blood pressure, poor sleep patterns and loss of appetite, and it can also involve mental and emotional issues such as sadness, a sense of hopelessness or anger issues. And then you might also experience memories or flashbacks of related events. These can arrive out of the blue or be triggered by everyday sights and sounds. In my experience, these flashbacks prolong and worsen the sense of stress, so it can quickly become a vicious downward spiral of stress, fatigue, and depression. That's where I found myself after a particularly nasty family encounter in December of 2023, and an even nastier follow-up that arrived out of the blue in late 2024. I had no idea what was happening to my body, but sleep became difficult, rest and relaxation became as good as impossible, and my patience with my beautiful young son became fragile. Basically, my ability to function effectively as a father, a husband, a consultant, and a content creator all became deeply compromised. And that's where music comes back into the story. It's not a treatment in isolation, and I would always encourage anybody experiencing any kind of mental, emotional, or physical health problems to begin by seeking out the appropriate medical or health professionals. For example, you might use that 10% discount off your first month of therapy via BetterHelp. But once you have the right professional support in place, you can then use music to supplement that support. That's what I've done, and it's been hugely helpful. And that's because music, as I said before, does some miraculous things within our brains. At its most simple level, listening to music we enjoy can release the feel-good hormones in our bodies that will lift our mood. Interestingly, that comes about from the fact that a well-written piece of music and a well-performed piece of music will actually subvert our expectations. It's like taking us on a little roller coaster ride that we're fully in on and it's never scary, but we enjoy the twists and turns of the tune, the little harmonic or rhythmic surprises, and those are the things that trigger the release of those wonderful happiness hormones in our bodies to make us feel a bit better. Going beyond that though, various medical imaging studies, in other words, where they take things like MRI machines and look at where blood flow is going in the brain at any one point in time, those sorts of studies have identified that music triggers complex and diverse networks of neurons across our entire brains. In other words, music is not just acting on our auditory cortex. Music also activates the memory, emotional, motor, and timing centers of the brain, as well as all of the interconnected, multi-directional pathways that run between all those centers. And that means that music provides a way to directly influence all of those parts of our brains and how they're interacting. It's how music can help Alzheimer's patients to retrieve those lost memories, at least for a little while. It's how music provides people with Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis and similar disorders with relief from their symptoms for a little while, better movement for a little while. And it's not just while they're listening to music, the benefits actually continue for a while after the music therapy. And the same has been true for me, using music to trigger a sense of relaxation or a lift in mood within my body. I know what you're probably thinking when I make that statement. You might be thinking that Lachlan's just been zoning out on new age ambient meditation music. Whilst meditation is a very powerful tool and one that I lean on regularly, that's actually not what I'm talking about. Music of all different sorts has been shown to alter the combination of brain waves of the various neurons firing within our brains. In other words, the frequency at which those neurons are firing. It can help us to transition from gamma and beta waves, the frequencies of intent, alertness, and focus, to the alpha, theta, and delta waves of relaxation and even sleep. Music can take us there without having to do any dedicated mental activities such as meditation. Not that music is a replacement for meditation, they're both very valuable and different. As for which music will help us the most, that can depend on the specific day and your specific mood at the time. Whatever the actual music is that I choose, it's always a deliberate choice of a playlist or an album or an artist that I think is going to improve my mood at the time and maybe short-circuit a stress response. A stress response that might be triggered by simple memories of the past. Or maybe it's been triggered by me noticing my son do something new and exciting that I want to share with my parents before I realised that that's an unsafe path. And that brings up those stress responses again. Those simple moments can trigger a tightness in the chest, a rise in my heart rate, a reduction in my ability to handle complexity or noise. But then the right music can cut through all of that. Often it's as simple as choosing a favourite track or a favourite album. Maybe it's a tranquil one, maybe an uplifting one, maybe it's something funky. Basically, it's any track that will provide me with a pleasurable listening experience at the time, one that feels good as I listen to it. And if it doesn't feel as good as I expected, I'll just change it. Of course, I try to avoid songs that are going to trigger any unhappy or stressful memories, as I would recommend you do too, but anything else is fair game. And that's the biggest lesson I took from reading music as medicine. The best music therapy is the music chosen by us to suit how we feel and what we like. Or if you happen to be thinking of using music to help a loved one, it's about choosing the music that they're going to like. Or I probably should say that as music that you know they already like and love. A new track or new music is probably going to be less helpful to us than familiar music we already know, love, and understand. Daniel Levitin talks in the book about how he helped Joni Mitchell to recover from a brain aneurysm, or not how he helped, but how he helped people to use music to help Joni Mitchell recover from a brain aneurysm. He suggested that Joni Mitchell's carers play to her an album that she curated. In other words, she had carefully selected a group of tracks and placed them in order on the album because they were tracks that she thought other people would find enjoyable and interesting. Of course, that meant that they were tracks that she found interesting and enjoyable too. Regular playing of that album for Joni Mitchell provided a catalyst for her recovery of the abilities to both walk and talk. And that's just one of many tales within the book Music as Medicine of how music has helped people to recover, to feel better, to reduce symptoms. It's an incredibly powerful tool. Of course, going beyond listening to music, there's also the creation and the playing of music, which could be as simple as joining a drumming circle or a choir. Or it might be more complex if you can learn or already know how to play a musical instrument. Playing music can be a wonderful form of self-expression, and then if you're playing music with others, it provides social connections too. But the point of all of this is to say that you're likely watching my channel because you love music. And so now, with the knowledge that I've hopefully shared here, you can not only enjoy listening to music, but you can deliberately leverage it to improve your mental and emotional well-being, perhaps your physical well-being if you're dealing with one of those neurological disorders that affects your body's physical abilities. Or you could deliberately leverage music to help the people around you that you love and care for. Again, I can't stress enough the importance of seeking proper professional help for any physical, mental, or emotional issues, whether that's a doctor, a psychologist, or a therapist. There's never weakness in seeking support, and you never have to do it on your own. I'm sure that many people, too many people watching this video, will have experienced similar trauma to what I have, because it sounds like far too many of us have. So take care of yourselves. Give yourselves the support you need, and remember that you're never on your own in this. And then go and choose your favourite album or your favourite playlist. Put it on, enjoy the music, and let the music help you through the tough times and improve the better times. While we're on the topic of music and how wonderfully powerful it is, if you want to know even more about the wonderful powers of music, I pinned a video here for you at the end that you'll probably enjoy watching next. And then speaking of wonderful, life-improving things, don't forget that you can get 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp by going to the link in the description down below or by visiting betterhelp.com/passion4sound. As always, a huge thanks to YouTube channel members. Thank you to channel Patreon members, and thank you to those of you who leave super thanks on videos like this one. Until next time, happy listening, be kind to each other, be kind to yourselves, and I'll see you here again soon on Passion for Sound.